What's up folks, Matt here, and this week I'm on my own. So instead of the usual kind of podcast we would have, me and Chris, I've decided that this week I'm going to show you all the videos I've watched this week, mostly car stuff, but you'll also see that there's a few other bits at the end which are really interesting videos to watch. So yeah, just a quick video, hopefully you like it, and here we go.
The OEM style front splitter, side blades, the diffuser, the rear spoiler, and yeah, this wheel is definitely a nice addition to the car. They weigh 9.9 kg per corner, so we did actually weigh the 666M alloy with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyre on, and it came to 29 kilos. I'm not sure if I left that in the video, but with the new wheel, with the same Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyre on, it now weighs 21 kilos. So we've actually got an 8 kilo saving per corner. I can't stress to you how much of an upgrade lightweight wheels are. So as I mentioned, I am at Brands Hatch tomorrow, so I will definitely give you a little update on how the car's feeling at that point. So yeah, let's jump out. I'll show you exactly what the AutoWorks have done to this car. So guys, here she is, looking beautiful. Look at them wheels, man. I'm not sure if video is doing these wheels justice, but I can tell you they look amazing. 19-inch NVF 02s. I think in bronze or silver it brings the features out a little bit more. Black obviously hides a lot of the aesthetics, but look at that 19-inch wheel and it still fills up the gap.
There we go, that's Ricky, and he's just gone and got himself some bespoke made alloys by a new startup company. Really interesting video. I think his car's actually, for me, actually looks way better with these wheels on now. Yeah, properly sick. Before, the car looked like, for me, it looked okay. The BMW M4. The gold color was nice, it's unique, but with the wheels that it had on before, for me, it just didn't look great. It didn't look amazing. Whereas I think he's done exactly the right thing by having the new red AP Racing calipers, which were done not so long ago, and now the new satin black alloys. Really cool alloys, really nice, and he saved the weight, and he's also got now them all-weather tyres on there. So yeah, really cool video. Go over to Living Life Fast and check that one out. So on to the next one.
It looks stunning, to be honest. Like, from a factory car, there's not much you can do to it, because whatever you do, you don't want to sacrifice or ruin it. Like, Porsche always kept their stuff the same because they know it works.
Yeah, like even if you do a remap, it's just like 10 horsepower.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's not point.
It's like 300 quid on nothing.
Yeah.
So there we go, folks. That is Tommy B7 TMY on YouTube. And he's had the opportunity to go out in a Porsche GT4, and I've been out in one Porsche, and yeah, they are particularly good drivers' cars. Even as he has sat in the passenger seat, you really feel how well these cars can handle. They're just set up so perfectly. They rev really high. They just go around corners so flat. It is amazing, and yeah, he's had the chance to check out this one here. But yeah, it was a really good video, and if you've never sort of understood the whole Porsche thing and why they're set up the way they are and everything else, then I'd definitely take a look at that one. So, on to the next car video.
You read my mind. I was saying, should we open the valves and go for a hoon? But yeah, let's get out on this thing and see what it's like. Let's go. Awesome. Straight away, man.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal for just an S3.
Yeah, no, it sounds nuts. It's so raspy as well.
Yeah, and you didn't get that with the stock exhaust at all.
It's completely opened up.
A horrible noise.
Yeah, the wind.
Okay, so that's Hampshire Photo on YouTube, and he's been out in this guy's Audi S3. It's really nicely set up. It looks so good. Obviously it's like grey. For some people they want something a bit more flashy, but it's such a nice S3. It's set up with nice wheels, just small touches like changing the decals and stuff, but most importantly it's got a super loud exhaust on it, and I know that it's hard for these things to come across well on video with the sound, but actually it still comes across really loud. But yeah, just nuts. I mean, and it's really, the video really shows you what you can do with these newish Audi S3s. So yeah, unbelievable stuff. Go check it out, Hampshire Photo. On to the next car video.
I'm very lucky. I get a lot of help. I don't get money from family, as it were, but I do have things like a very, very cheap house that I live in. So that does help, and that does make it a lot more possible than it would be for many others. I know a lot of other guys that are the same sort of size as me do run a full-time job alongside, and I salute them. It's crazy how they manage it. But I always wanted it to be my career, and I always had this idea that why should it give me full-time money if I'm not putting full-time hours into it?
Okay, so that's a video from Jayemm On Cars. If you've not watched him before, it's a channel with around 50,000 followers, and he's just doing a simple Q&A, but there's loads of like pretty juicy stuff in there about you know, how much roughly somebody with 50,000 subs earns in the car YouTube scene, and he kind of for once actually tells you like everything. Obviously he doesn't tell you exactly how much he earns and stuff like that, but he does give you a lot of insight into his actual lifestyle, which I really feel is something we don't really see much from car YouTubers, or sometimes YouTubers in general, and that's brings me on to a point. If you haven't seen it yet already, we've done a interview with Sean Barrett, the former owner of Boosted on YouTube, and that was an almost 2-hour podcast. So if you haven't looked at that, go and have a look, because again we try and really nail him down about you know, what the lifestyle really is when you're full-time or even part-time on YouTube. So go check that out. But this was Jayemm On Cars with his questions and answers. On we go.
A mate of mine.
Shit. Wait, that's nice, that gearbox, isn't it? It's like a nice little supporter you got there.
You need a 6-speed box, mate. That will be next things, man.
Everything's smooth though, isn't it? It feels factory in it.
Cheers, man.
Doesn't feel like a, you know, it's like
Like a throw together.
no, it doesn't.
She no throw together.
No.
Go on, man.
So it's another video from Ricky Living Life Fast on YouTube, and he's got a chap on there who's put a 2JZ in a 525D. I really enjoyed this one because most importantly the owner really knew his stuff about E60s, and he was just like super passionate about cars, and he's just like a really good character, and it's always fun when people bring their cars on to Living Life Fast, but also have like a real good personality. So yeah, you must watch that one. He's actually quite a sick driver, the guy, as well, pretty fearless, and I think he said Ricky's the second person ever to drive his car, so he was quite shocked himself feeling the actual power of his E60 2JZ conversion. Really cool car, but yeah, great video again. So let's see, on to now. We've got a couple of things that I've watched this week. I do spend quite a long time watching YouTube when I'm like traveling and stuff like that, and I can often watch like really long podcasts and stuff like that. I just watch them in chunks as I'm going to and from work and stuff. But here's 2 really cool videos you should watch this week which aren't particularly related to cars. So let's have a look.
I just want to give you a couple of stats actually. So as we sit here now, In the last week, we've averaged out almost 5 units a second for a week straight that have left Gymshark distribution centres. So that's the equivalent to this every single second for a week, which is absolutely nuts. Again, in the last video I talked about how we used to do everything by hand, and I remember the having to deal with like 9 orders a day that would have to be custom made and printed and sewed and so on. That was tough for us. So now to have done the last week, to have done almost 5 units a second, every single second 24/7 is absolutely nuts. That's definitely a Gymshark record, but we know that there's a lot more that we can do as well. Again, if you did order, your items are on the way. So thank you for your patience and thank you again for your support. It does mean the world to us.
Okay, so that was Ben Francis of Gymshark. One, if you don't know what Gymshark is, most people probably do, but if you don't, it's apparently the fastest growing gym brand, or if not one of the fastest growing companies in the UK. They do have other distribution centres across the world now, but it was started by a couple of guys who literally started making products themselves because they didn't like what they saw in like gym wear. So they started this startup from their home, and they literally went from printing the stuff or even stitching the stuff themselves, and now they've grown this huge company, and Ben Francis is like one of the founders. And he's basically taken you through in this video, as you've seen, that they've just had Black Friday, and he's explaining the numbers and how everything works. He actually takes you through a tour of a couple of their warehouses and all the statistics, what happened on the day with Black Friday sale, all the technical stuff, all kinds of things. But basically they sold 3 million products in 48 hours. So if you have any interest at all in that kind of thing, like business, or, you know, I think most people find it pretty interesting, to be honest. But yeah, really cool stuff, and it's even quite funny, as you see in the video. It says like in the time that you've watched the video, they've sold something like 4,000 products. So that tells you the size of this company now. So yeah, really good one. And the next one is slightly different, from business to more humanitarian kind of focus. So let's just have a look at that.
Are having some great success with your machine finally. It's everything's up and running. Last time we talked, you had yet to implement it actually out in the wild, and now you explain to us what happened. You had some bumps in the beginning, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's been quite a few years. Finally, something's happening. So we launched our first ocean system from San Francisco in September of last year, and we took it out. And roughly 2 months later, we figured that, first of all, it wasn't catching plastic. So what we saw was that the system was moving at roughly the same speed as the plastic. So maybe you just take one step back, the idea and how it works.
Sure,
so of course, we had this great Pacific garbage patch between here and Hawaii, twice the size of Texas, 100 million kilos of plastic, doesn't go away by itself. And the idea was to have this artificial coastline that is driven by the forces of the ocean. We put it in there, and the plastic naturally accumulates against it and kind of stays in there, so we can then periodically get it out. Because the big challenge is that although there's a lot of plastic, it's spread out over this vast area. So we first have to concentrate it.
So there we have it, guys. The last video was a clip from the Joe Rogan podcast, which is the biggest podcast in the world. And if you've never watched it, Joe Rogan's like an MMA commentator. He was also a presenter on Fear Factor a few years ago, if anyone remembers that. He's done quite a few things, but mostly presenting and commentating. But he has like the biggest podcast in the world. And this chap is on there explaining for about 2 hours, I believe it is, what he's doing in order to clean up plastic in the ocean. And he explains it in great detail and what the overall goal is, the short term and the long term. But it's really an eye opener, especially when you see images and stuff. If you look up images of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is effectively a patch in the ocean where the way the currents work, all the plastic across the world particularly ends up sitting in the same parts of the ocean, because it gets drawn to these places with particular currents. So this place has got like absolute millions of tons of plastic, and he's successfully launched this kind of almost like a net which catches, kind of passively catches loads and loads of plastic. So really interesting guy, he's worked really hard on it, and yeah, I definitely recommend watching it. But there you have it, folks. So as I said, apologies there's not a regular kind of me and Chris podcast. We're doing our best, but sometimes things get in the way, and but we do have lots of great ideas, and we're going to keep plugging away, try and get more guests on, but there's also other sort of car ideas and stuff like that on the way. But I thought this might be interesting for some people if, you know, they want to see what's happening in the UK car scene, but also a couple of other really interesting videos I've watched personally on YouTube this week. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you watched any of these videos or anything like that, drop us a comment and tell me what you thought. But yeah, all the best from me, and if I don't see you, have a good Christmas and take care. Bye bye.